Okay. So let's see, this presentation is actually a dual presentation, except for time's sake and stuff. We just have Will Byers on here, but he's in the back. For those of you who don't know Will, like I thought I was tall, then I met Will, and like he's like really tall. So if you see someone walking around who's much taller than others, it's probably Will. But I decided, hey, what's a marketing advantage with that? Not only is he a great digital marketer, I've known Will for almost 10 years now, worked with him, actually recruited him to this company, used to work for Dan Kennedy, one of Robin's marketing mentors. Will worked there. Took a while to recruit him over, but how long have you been here now, Will? 3.5 years. 3.5 years there. He runs our digital Done For You division, and he wanted me to make an announcement. It's only good for the first 10 people here. So he doesn't have photos with the sharks or anything like that, but if you buy a digital Done For You package while you're here, he will come to your house for up to 2 hours for a kid's birthday party and either be the big friendly giant, Hodor, or Haggard. I don't know his name, but Will knows it, so whatever. So that's only for the first 10, 2 hours, travel anywhere, it's great. So you gotta get digital Done For You with that. So let's go ahead and get started. First, a question for everybody. What is a new client worth to you on average first year MRR? Approximately. 40,000. I guess I should have said ARR for first year. That was a trick question. Yes, yeah, 40,000. Who's around 40,000? There, 2,000, 3,000, I guess that's about $3,000, $3,500 a month. Our average member, it's anywhere between like 1,800, 2,200 is about the average range for that. I want you to keep this in mind as we talk about this subject, and you guys are smart for being here, because this is not like a sexy subject like getting free leads online and doing that, a lot of the other things. A lot of this information I got from Will and his team because they deal with inbound leads every day, and the Digital Done For You team, what they do is track the heck out of everything, and one of the parts of that is they use a system called CallRail that monitors every inbound lead. With that to any of the numbers that they set up. So this isn't your support number, this is your sales numbers. So they set those up and they listen to all those calls and they gave me a lot of this information, these statistics. So we're gonna go through those. But I wanna keep in mind with that average ARR for first year, whether it's 20,000, 40,000, some of you might be higher than that, because this is what one of these leads and missing one of these leads could be worth to you and you could be missing out on. So real quickly during this presentation, we're just gonna go through the 7 deadly sins of inbound lead handling. And these are the biggest mistakes that are easily correctable that every one of you can do in here. Now you might be doing all these things right. If you are, maybe you can make some small tweaks to this, or you can just pat yourself on the back that you're doing all this stuff right. But most people in here, there's something in here in the funnel that might not be optimized, that might not be working quite as well as you think it is. So, sin number 1, not answering the phone live. I'm gonna go through them quickly and then we'll run through each one. 2, call it auto attendant hell. Not using inbound scripts, not asking for their info. Forms don't work or they don't go to your CRM. Slow or no follow-up offline, and then slow and no follow-up online. I really only had 6, but I needed 7, so you see what I did there. So anyhow, secret, yeah. Don't tell anyone. Good thing this isn't being recorded or broadcast. So anyways, just some quick phone stats before we jump through those 7. So don't worry if you're trying to take pictures. We're going through each of the 7. So some phone stats. So we track 285 MSPs through the system called CallRail. Many of you in here probably are on that, and we're tracking you. Yeah, we've got all that information. You're good. MSPs that are tracked, they average 52 inbound non-service related calls during Q1. Now we do get people who say, hey, I love the inbound calls. Like it's funny, we had a client we optimized. They weren't on Google My Business, which is now called Google Business Profile. They weren't doing a lot of the free things. So we got that going. And they're like, oh, this stinks though, because now like, I'm getting a bunch of new calls in, but 2/3 of them are telemarketers and everything. You will see that, but I'm like, how bad is your marketing if even the telemarketers can't find you to try and sell you stuff? Like, so you're gonna have that happen, like, but you've gotta be out there. If you're not getting it out there where people who are looking for your information, they can't find you, and that's their job to call you. You want these leads to be able to find you. So know that that's gonna happen. Like, we all get those calls anyways. The more you get it, the more your number and your information's out there, so the people you do want to find you are out there. So 52 inbound non-service related calls during Q1, and this is among average. Some were literally 10 times that, some had like 5. And most of that, they probably just don't have their stuff set up right, or they haven't given us the numbers or whatever. But best in class, and what I'm defining as best in class, I took our top 20% of these 285 and looked at their stats. And the best in class, the top 20%, they answered their phones live 99.1% of the time. Like, that's a crazy number to me. I was going to be impressed if it was 90%, but it was 99.1. There's a reason this number may be a little skewed, which I'll talk about in a second, but the average amongst all 285 was 86.7%. So 15 calls, 14 calls out of 100, they're not answering live. And then worst in class, about that's the bottom 20%, not quite half, but 40% of the time, it's going to voicemail or something else. Now, the only problem with these stats is through CallRail, the actual numbers are probably worse than this because a lot of the time voicemail, it'll mistake that for a live answer. So some of the auto attendants, some of the voicemail, all that, we can compensate because there are like hundreds of additional calls that last 3 seconds because once they get the voicemail, they just hang up. Because if you got a problem that you need solved like right now because something's broken, not working, something like that, you're not leaving a voicemail on a Friday hoping for it to be fixed on Monday. Like, this is not what people are doing on Friday afternoons, is calling for an IT service provider unless something's wrong with that. I know we got a bunch of Producer Club members in here, but the Shores, Eric and Lisa at last Producers Club, they talked about how answering one phone call, it was for a broken laptop, led to, I'm not gonna have their number exactly right, and it goes up each time because this company keeps buying stuff. They answered a call, broken laptop. Turns out the guy ran, it was like a 150-seat company. They've acquired other companies. It's over $300,000 in business within the first 90 days now because they answered their phone and offered to fix the guy's personal, well, it was his business laptop with that. So one of the things you're going to have is don't qualify the opportunity, what they're calling in about, qualify the person who's calling in with that. So you never know. We hear these stories all the time. I was talking with Will Nobles. And he had a person they called, they just wanted antivirus set up on 5 machines. He's like, this is something 2 years ago we wouldn't have done. We would have said, hey, we don't do that, et cetera. They're like, what the heck, they've been pounding on us that we got to qualify the opportunity, so told us people to go ahead. Turned out to be a $15,000 a month MRR deal within 30 days. They needed antivirus on these 5, but they didn't know what managed service was. So again, answering these calls, taking care of them, we hear this type of stuff all the time. So qualify the person, not the opportunity that they're calling in about with that. So again, not answering phone live. Your best leads don't leave messages. They call your competitor. Like I said, we see hundreds and hundreds of calls as soon as they hit voicemail, even if it's counting it as answered live because it's an auto attendant or some type of system, because VoIP makes it harder with some of this stuff for them to differentiate. They just hang up. They're not leaving messages the vast majority of the time with this. You know who does leave messages? The telemarketers. They'll leave messages on there. Those are the people. We don't hear a lot of messages left where it's a hot lead on there. They're clicking and calling your competitor who's getting that business from that. Interesting, looked at this, highest call volume is between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. So it's like lunchtime. So that was interesting. That was also the highest percent of unanswered calls at the offices. So if you got your person and they're taking a lunch, somewhere in there, do you have a backup person to answer those calls, to route those calls, everything that you need to be doing there with that. And then finally, 13% of the calls either came outside of regular hours, so we defined regular hours as 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. So 13% of calls are after hours or on weekends. It's not a tremendous amount, but again, think about the person who's calling in at 8 p.m. or on a Saturday or a Sunday. These are people who need help like right now on this stuff. Something's broken, they need it fixed. These are hot leads that are there with that. So again, go back to thinking, what's a new client worth to you in that first year? We've got vendors here who will answer the phone when you're not there. A lot of them charge on like how many minutes they actually use for that. Think about who you've got answering the phone right now. Is it you? Could you pay them less per hour? I hear so many people like hiring's a problem right now. You can't find good techs, you can't keep them, engineers, everything like that. But yet you're having your techs, your engineers, being the ones who are answering the phone and doing the sales, and they're not doing a good job of it. That's not what they're hired for. That's not what they should be doing. You could free up their time using these other services that cost dollars per minute instead of like 10 times that with what you're paying your people on that. Number 2, auto attendant hell. Even our good clients who like do eventually, we hear a lot of times, I mean, it takes 30 seconds, a minute and a half before they get to a live person. No one here, if you had a problem, like calls a company and says, hey, I hope instead of just getting my question answered by someone who knows, I hope I go into a thing where I can listen to all my options, pound through, maybe say someone's name, maybe get the right person, maybe they'll then transfer me and I could hold for like 30 seconds to a minute while they answer the phone. Like that's not what we want. That's not our experience that we want, yet we're doing it to the leads. This isn't just our customers. Again, the stats I'm giving you are for sales calls. These are calls in the sales lines that we track. These are not the service lines. Now, that doesn't mean that some of them don't slip through because a person goes to your website, one of your clients, you guys have this happen all the time, and they call your sales line for that. But by and large, these are people calling in, trying to get information from you. They've got a problem they want solved. They don't want to spend 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes on hold. So if you're doing this, like it's better than just sending them to voicemail, but we can't even track how many we're losing during this period here. So number 3, not using inbound scripts. So one of the games we play at, how many of you have been to one of the rapid implementation workshops? Okay, so a bunch of you. If you haven't been to it, we got a bunch of MSP launch people. It's like the 2-day for the MSP launch. We've got that several times a year. One of the games we play at the rapid implementation workshop is that, and we used to do it where at the workshop you turn to the person next to you and it's about 4 o'clock, I believe on the first day, and you call each other's offices and play prospect with that. The results are hilarious and terrifying at the same time with that. Now what we do is, while you're in Rapid the first day, one of our employees, they actually call all the offices of everyone sitting in the room. And then we ask a question like this: how many of you sitting here think if I dialed your office line right now, I'd get a live answer, and that if I used the script, they would answer it in the way that you would want it all to be answered without a problem? Like you would bet your money. You got one, Donna? Okay, I like that. So yeah, Producers Club members, you heard it before with that. So one in this room who at least would raise their hand with that. Hopefully some more of you have it, just didn't raise your hand on this. The truth of the matter is, though, most of us probably aren't that confident that if I called the number right now and we played it for the whole room, that this call would go amazingly well and be answered exactly like you wanted it to be answered there. We have the scripts for you. We have the scripts for your people on there. Print out the script, laminate it, put it on everyone's desk. I don't want you having text engineers, all those people, anyone who's not trained doing this, but train them anyway so they know, because eventually they might be the one around picking up the phone on there. If you have the laminated script on their desk, it's much easier for them to follow with that. So use the scripts. If you're not sure where the scripts are, like this is little, but it's like you can go into the dashboard and type in how to handle inbound leads, and we have a whole report that outlines the entire thing. It's in the toolkit. I forget what session it's in there, but just type in inbound leads and you'll find the report. That'll come up first in here. We can probably put this in the notes for the session as well. But the script, some of the rules for handling phone must be answered by live by a trained person. Again, this isn't someone you just hired. They could be the nicest person in the world. But when someone gets a call, they're thinking their job is to answer the question of the person on the other line. And well, that's it in some respects. What their job really is, what you want them to do. So if they call in and say, hey, what are your hours? Do you want them to just say 9 to 5, click? That's not ideal. They didn't get any information. We don't know who called, why they called. Was there an opportunity there? What was it? What if the person's not going to make it by 5 and your competitor's open till 6 and they could get to them? You just lost a lead because they answered their question. They think they did their job. They answered the question. They gave the great service to the person on the other end, except they don't realize their job's not to answer their question. It's to get their information and see how they can help them. So phone must not ring more than 3 times before someone picks up live. Like, I will challenge you, and if you all call right now, it'll blow up our office phone, but I will challenge you, even during an event, if you call our office phones where the vast majority of our office people are here, at least during working hours, you will have people scrambling. On one call, we have a dedicated person. If it rings twice, there's like 4 other people that perk up. And if it rings a 3rd time, they're all scrambling to answer the phone. It goes all over the office. It's in the lunchrooms. It's in all the break rooms. You'll see people stop mid-conversation where it's their jobs to make sure that that's happening. And that's just how they're trained on that. So we're very serious about this because now for us, it's much different. We don't get many leads that call in, but we know it's you guys. We want to answer your question as quickly as humanly possible with that and get you the information you need. The person answering the phone must speak clearly, cheerfully, and identify themselves. Think of some of your techs and your employees. Are they the person you want to speak? Are they going to answer clearly, cheerfully, and identify themselves with this? I will bet not. They were not hired for that. We just gave them a job they didn't want there. So they're not going to do this happily and cheerfully and everything. So that's why you want to go to get a professional to do this. And again, you can have someone during working hours, or you can totally outsource this to companies that all they do is answer these, then route them to you like immediately on that. And they'll use the scripts. Prospects should never be put into voicemail. So if someone's not there, this is a mistake we see all the time. They've got a question and that person's out, and you will see qualified leads come in and they call and they say, hey, it sounds great. I'll have so-and-so get back to you. And they put them into their voicemail there. They don't call, they don't put them on hold and try and reach Mike or whatever and have Mike call them right back. Mike would gladly take the call if it's like, hey, we got a question. If they're qualified, hey, we got a 25 seat company. They're like 2 miles away. They need this, this, and this. Do you want to talk to them? Yes, he wants to talk to them about that stuff. That's a qualified lead. He doesn't want to go into voicemail, then wait hours to get a response. The prospect should be transferred directly to either a salesperson or another trained individual who can help them right away. So again, like voicemail used to be a nice thing, something we want. Voicemail shouldn't even be something that like you need or use for that. Next, not asking for their info. So this is right out of the document on how to handle an inbound lead. This is how a prospect calls. So instead of letting them get into what they want, it says a prospect calls in and says something like, hi, I'm calling to talk to somebody about issue there. The response is always, excellent, I can help you with that. So, but then you go into first, may I get your full name and company you're calling from? Is that here in whatever city? Great, thanks, say their name, and you're the owner, or get their position with that. Now you're getting all the information. It's in case we get cut off, in case you need to call back, in case you get this. You just ask for this information. The vast majority of the time, if it's a real person calling your office who's like looking for help, they will gladly give you this information on there. So they've got to be trained to do this. If all you do is take the first part and get that part right, and then get the, whether you have caller ID or ask for the best number, now you can follow up with them. Even if it's a terribly botched call, you know you can call back and make it good on there. What's a good email? How did you hear about us? Real quick questions. It takes like 15 to 30 seconds total with that. And then you get into, like the script goes on. But these are the basic questions. You get the feel for it. You know how this call is going to go with that. You also know if it's a telemarketer or whatever, and you can end it, or if, like we're telemarketers, we probably called you guys in the first place. That's why you're here right now. We sent you letters and stuff, so answer the calls once in a while. Might be good stuff. So we tell you guys to call if you need it. So next, forms don't work or they don't go to your CRM. Again, make sure there's forms on your website and make sure that they go to the CRM. They get plugged into everything. So I didn't put the stat on here. So about a month and a half ago, went through 97, 98 of our member sites. They were going to be on a call with me about websites and reports. I found that the people who did have a form fill for a report, 17% of those form fills didn't work. I'd do it, hit submit, nothing would happen. It would error out. One was even where the box was supposed to be that said like submit or whatever was just black, and you push it and nothing happened on there. So make sure they work. It could have all worked a week ago, it could have all worked yesterday, it could have worked an hour ago. Make sure your marketing manager, your fractional marketing coordinator, an admin, someone is checking these at least weekly. You guys don't have so many forms on your sites that you can't do this. We have to go through dozens and dozens and dozens each week. We'll find ones, we didn't make a change, something broke somewhere, some integration, something updated, some WordPress plugin. We'll find broken leaks. We go through weekly, and there's, I mean, I'll say dozens. I don't think we got, Tyler, you don't know how many. He just started like 3 weeks ago, so I don't even know if he knows this part of his job yet. Moving on. So so write this down. Anyways, know or slow follow-up offline. So I'm going to show you some stats. So we've got some friends who do a similar thing to what we do, but they do it for independent automobile dealerships. But they sell to automobile dealerships. They call the heck out of them all the time because they're like, if you're in going after that niche, you got to just call. You don't schedule appointments because if a customer walks in, they're on that. It's a lot like you guys. I mean, I have one-on-ones. That's an option for accelerators and producers club members. And I'd say about a third of the time, I get the thing like within half an hour or a day before that you got an appointment in that, so you reschedule. That's great. You've got to go after the money. This happens to them all the time. But they tracked, they have a system they call Call Commando. It's a proprietary just for that industry that they set up. But they track the time a lead comes in to when they call them back, and these were their stats. And they do thousands of these. Like they've got great information. Oh, and they track it for all the dealerships also. So they've got hundreds of thousands of data points. Calling them back in 3 minutes or less, 70% of them booked an appointment. 3 minutes or less. That falls off by almost 20% or just over 20% if it took 10 minutes to call back. Because what did the people do? They're like no longer interested. We see an ad, we're interested in this. We moved on. We're at a meeting, we're in an appointment. 10 minutes, it dropped down to 49%. It actually doesn't drop down that badly after the 10 minutes. Goes to 30 minutes, 46%, 4 hours, 37%. If it was a day, now only a third booked. So we were at over 2/3 booking if you can call back within 3 minutes. And 2 days, only 29%, and then I think we have 7 days, 1/4 of them. So they're losing almost half of their booked appointments if they're taking a full week. Like at a week, I was shocked they were even getting 25%. They've got someone good calling on there. But you don't have 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes to get back to people. You've got like 3 minutes. There, you wait 10 minutes, you just lost 20% of your appointments. There, 20% of your opportunities. Doesn't cost you any more to call back quickly than it'll cost you to call back 10 minutes later on that. So, got a bulldog on this one, got other friends, they do this in real estate. My background was actually real estate in this. They have a technique they call bulldogging, where when they get a lead, they will actually call them up to 5 times in a row. They won't leave a message, and they said their number of appointments increases by 80%, I'm sorry, 80%, 800%, 8 times when they do this technique. Because they're like, when someone calls you back again and again, like you eventually answer and they're like, the person's mad for like 10 seconds, but it's like, hey, I just saw you called about 123 Main Street, blah, 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 wanted to get you the info. And they're like, okay, it comes down, and then they get an appointment with it. So this is their schedule for following up on an inbound lead. Day 1, calling back immediately. 10 minutes later after the lead comes in, also. 30 minutes after the lead, and they won't leave an appointment every one of those times, but they'll try because maybe you were on a call, maybe you got into an appointment. If you leave a voicemail, like most of us don't check our voicemail as soon as a voicemail comes in on there, like we check a couple times a day if that. I mean, I call a lot of people and their voicemail's like full. They're not checking very often at all, and even if they are, I can't leave a message. So they're calling back 30 minutes after it comes in. Then a 4th call that same day between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. On day 2, they call once in the morning, and then once between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. This is how they get the appointments with them. Again, they're not leaving a voicemail every time, but they're following up offline, trying to get in. These appointments cost a lot of money to get. If you look at some of the stats right now, a qualified lead through either Google or Microsoft Ads Bing is costing anywhere from $1,200, a qualified lead, not just like a raw lead, like $1,200 on up. For that, $1,200 for a qualified lead. Now again, those numbers still work. If you close 1 in 3 of those leads, they become a client. That's our average amongst our members out there. Or I'm sorry, 1 in 3 becomes an appointment. 1 in 3 of those becomes a client. But again, you just said that average ARR is anywhere from 20, 30, 40,000 on up. So even if you're spending 7 to 8 to 9,000, and Robin's going to go through some kind of shocking numbers tonight on what a new client costs, that's still way cheaper than most other ways to get clients on here. So you've got to follow up immediately and often with them offline. And I didn't even go into what happens past day 2. Then it's mailers, emails, the newsletter, drip tips, all of the stuff, prospect hopper, social media ads. There should be retargeting. There should be all sorts of things that happen. And then no or slow follow-up online. So it was funny, at Roadshow last year, I forget what the first city it went to was, but there was a couple, there were 2 ladies in the audience, and saw them at the happy hour right after Roadshow, and they said, hey, we just have to apologize. And I'm like, I don't know where this is going, but I'm like, this is a reversal of situation, first time in my life. But I'm like, what's up? They're like, we had to leave during like one of Robin's sessions. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like that happens all the time. I assume people use the bathroom or whatever. They're like, the thing was, they had just gone through Rapid. They had just set up their marketing automation platform, Keep, with that. They actually got a lead in, so their phones buzzed that they got a lead in, and they like looked at the form, and it was an accounting firm, a CPA, and they put down there that they had like 25 people, they needed help, something was broken, and then they're like, we debated for a minute in the room whether we should call them back right away. They're like, we decided to. We went out there and they scheduled an appointment. They're like, we just set this up last week, and now someone actually came to our site, filled out a thing, put it in, we called them back. They were probably in the 5-minute range because this is like crazy to them that someone would actually go to their website, fill out a form, and want to call back. And so they're getting appointments just by having this available on their website. But you've got to follow up quickly. This was with an online lead, so they had filled out the form. This wasn't a call. Now, if they're doing this online, then you've got to make sure you're emailing back, you're calling, you're doing whatever information you can. You're putting them into your CRM. You're making sure that your CRM, if you're using MAP or you got a Sherpa or something like that, make sure that all the leads are coming through. Go and test your forms. Make sure, have other people go in and make sure you're getting notified or your salespeople are getting notified. Test and see how long it takes your salespeople to call them back or to contact them back. The very best leads are the ones who need to be contacted the quickest back. A lot of the other campaigns work with the prospecting, with the mailers. They all absolutely work, but that's finding someone at the right time. These inbound leads are usually people who need help right now or shortly into the future with that. So again, recapping, the 7 deadly sins of inbound lead handling: not answering the phone, auto-attendant hell, not using inbound scripts, not asking for their info, forms don't work or don't connect to your CRM, slow offline follow-up, and slow online follow-up. With that, I think I got like a minute left here, so we're doing pretty good. 2 minutes, minute and a half. Any questions here? Okay. Oh yeah, right in front. Yeah, he's got work for it here. So our amazing, can we get a round of applause for a mic runner here, Robert? So.
Does he work at Barrett Jackson? Huh? Does he work at Barrett Jackson? Nah, he speaks so fast.
Oh yeah.
Who had the question over here?
Yeah. Oh, I thought you had a question.
No.
Oh, you were just messing with us.
Okay,
Sorry,
cool.
Robert. Yeah. I mean, he raised his hand. It was like, I should have known. So guys, thank you so much. What's that?
You didn't qualify the question.
What's that? No, I didn't ask for the info or anything. I mean, he's got a name tag. We got y'all recorded. We're listening to your calls. I just showed you that. Yeah, we're fine. So thank you guys so much. Welcome to boot camp, and have a fantastic 4 days with us.